How's it going, guys? We got another exciting show tonight. We're going to talk about the Chicago Fire. The Great Chicago Fire. I'm sure you learned about it in school. You probably learned that a cow knocked over a lantern and somehow burnt down all of Chicago. Now, we're going to show you the pictures of why that don't make sense. Well, they've changed that narrative to now there was a guy playing a card game, and apparently he cheated and he ran away and knocked over a lantern and caused all of this. Yep, that's from a lantern, guys. But I got thinking, I've seen that damage before. And it looks similar to the bombing of Dresden in World War II. If you haven't heard of the bombing of Dresden, well, take a look. Now, this damage was from the 1940s. This makes sense. They were bombed in World War II. But how does Chicago happen in the 1870s? I think 1871. And it looks like the same damage that happened after the invention of the airplane, the nuclear bomb. Something's not adding up here. So we're going to look into some of what they claim and how they try to explain to us the narrative that they're going with. And also, we're going to look at some of the buildings that were here before the fire in Chicago. And you tell me if they look like they were built just 20 years before that. Keep in mind, 30 years before the Great Chicago Fire, there was really no one living in Chicago. So they built all of this in less than 50 years, and it all burned down. So we're going to take a look at all this. And if you look, you can still find these buildings in Chicago that survived the fire, that were built, they say, in the 1850s, pre-Civil War. Now, keep in mind, guys, somehow they had the time to build these with a population in 1850 of 30,000 people. And they had the time and the capability to build this with horse and buggy. Okay, these buildings look way older. The narrative makes no sense that they built this within 20 years. And then it all burnt down, I guess, like the day after they completed it. I mean, come on. This looks like it's a city for millions. So we're about to do the history of all the courthouses of Cook County in Illinois. And we're going to look at all of them and see if the narrative and the pictures make any sense. So let's start. So they claim in 1830, this is courthouse number 1, made of wood. That makes sense with 30,000 people. But this is courthouse number 2. Now this was built in 1850. So they're claiming, and look at in that one picture. If you look at this picture, look at it in 1855, 5 years after it was built. In 1858, 8 years after it was built, and there's already a difference. Look at the staircase. Look at the ground level. Something's already happened. But they claim they built this in 1850. And society just 20 years before that built that wooden one and decided that ain't big enough. We're going to build this other one. And it sat until 1871 until the fire. And then we'll look at what they built after that, or what they claim they built. Now, my theory is they didn't build any of this, obviously. And the last great port of Chicago that was left was in 1891 for the Chicago expedition. And they burned it. And after that, whatever's left, I've been to Chicago. I'm going to go back and look at. But there's very few buildings left from the 1800s. And the 1891 was the final hurrah, if you will, to eradicate it all. But again, this courthouse was built in 1850, was gone by 1871, and in 5 years of its construction, the ground level and everything had already changed. So how does that narrative make any sense? Now, the narrative says that the second Chicago courthouse was completed in 1891. Now, this is an interesting thing. It's still standing. So if you live in Chicago, go check it out. It's called Courthouse Place. You can find it. It's still standing. Here's pictures of it. And then it was replaced. So this one, they claim they started building in 1873, 2 years after. And by 1893, it was completely operational. And the in-between time, they were using the church in downtown Chicago. And I'll have to look at that church because I'm sure it wasn't a church. But this building, you tell me if this doesn't look like it was from before the fire. It definitely does to me. And you can even see the doors are already halfway buried underground. That door would have been way bigger, guys. This store would have been way bigger. The whole placement of it doesn't really make sense. So, okay, so now the narrative says that you had the wooden one, then you had the one that burnt down in 71, and then you had the one that was completed in 91. So what came after that? So number 4, get ready, guys, because it is amazing. And they claim it was 1915. No way. Look at this. So here is the 4th Chicago Cook County Courthouse. Come on, guys. Get out of here. Okay, this is an old building that they just moved the courthouse to. So this one they tore down in 64, appropriately. And that leaves us with the one they ended up with that we see today. The brutalistic, beautiful this. So the 5th and final. This is what we got. Just like every other stupid building in America. So again, guys, just looking at those pictures of the other ones, the narrative makes no sense, okay? They didn't build all that 10 years or 20 years from the wooden one, and then 15 years from the one that burnt down, and then 15 years to the next one. That's not true, guys. What these were all old buildings, and they would destroy one and move to another and wait and then destroy it. And they were in those buildings. The seat of power was in those buildings, ready to destroy them, ready to probably take out what they wanted to, any, artifacts or anything, put them in a safe place before, oops, it burnt down. So again, guys, please subscribe, comment, like. Let me know what you think about all this. And we're going to get deeper into the city of Chicago because it is truly fascinating. And remember, the cow didn't do it. So who did? Have a good one, guys, and stay inside, tartery.